everyone. Welcome back to the Creatively Thinking podcast. Join Carolyn Botello as she uncovers the inspirations behind some incredibly creative minds that are orbiting our local communities. Hello, Dilan Doty, the face and hands behind the Leaves of Canada brand. You originally graduated with a Bachelor in Architecture. Then you began an interesting approach to your art practice by experimenting with botanical elements using inks and other mediums. And as your name identifies, your subject matter is where your passion for nature and design come together. Let's take a deep dive on your creative practice. What was your initial inspiration to take this career path with your creativity? Was it loving what you can make with your hands, your emotional insights, or something else?
Hi, Carolyn. It's great to be your guest today. Thank you for the intro. Honestly, it is hard to pick one over the other. It's true that I've always loved making things with my hands, but you're also kind of led by your emotional instincts along the way. That's what gives it a personal voice, right? So I started with architecture, which gives me a solid foundation in design. But over time, I started craving something more intuitive, more emotional, and more personal. And I think nature became that space for me, especially plants. I've always found comfort in looking closely at a leaf or a petal of a flower. There's so much poetry in those small details. Even now, I still do my practice. I still in architecture. Leaves of Canada feels like home to me, though. It's where I feel most like myself, to be honest. So in a way, I think my hands and my emotions teamed up and said, let's make something that feels alive. So that's how Leaves of Canada started, not just as an art practice, but as a way to reconnect with the natural world, I would say.
Yeah, that does sound really good. Can you share with our audience what influenced you to venture down this specific path creatively? What made you choose specifically nature above everything else as your primary subject matter?
That's a great question. I don't think it was ever a conscious decision to choose nature. That classic answer where people say, oh, I didn't choose it, it chose me. It was kind of like that, actually. I'm going to say that nature chose me. Nothing else spoke to me in the same way. But I can also say I've always found it so grounding. Whenever life felt too fast or too noisy, I would turn to the outdoors. All those small details, like how light hits a leaf, the texture of a bark, the sound of wind in trees, they could completely shift my mood. So over time, I realized those little observations were shaping the way I saw the world and how I wanted to express it. So creatively, it gave me endless material to work with, and it still does.
Yeah, in a way, it seems quite different though from architecture. How did you make that? It seems like a giant leap, right, from architecture to nature.
Exactly. I think it's more like seeing the details and focusing on how all those components come together. Same for nature too. In architecture, we get so much inspiration from nature as well.
Have you found your inspiration of our great Canadian landscape to lead to illustrative work for novels or nonfiction books?
Funny you ask that because not too long ago, I was actually this close to being part of a book project. It didn't end up working out in the end, unfortunately, but it definitely planted the seed. I would absolutely love to illustrate for a novel or, nonfiction book, especially something rooted in nature or thoughtful storytelling. The Canadian landscape already inspires me so much of my work, so it just feels like such a natural fit. So yes, I would very open to that next opportunity. Hopefully, the right story finds me.
Yeah, yeah. This may be a good vehicle to get some exposure
That would be
for that.
amazing.
Yeah. Has your experience working with primarily botanical subject matter led to any national discussions, conferences, or talks on the expertise you have acquired from exploring this as your subject matter?
Not yet on a national scale, but it is something I would love to grow into.
Mhm.
I've had some like smaller opportunities to share my process and ideas, especially with other creatives or in more local settings, which I really
Mhm.
enjoy. I believe working with botanical subjects teaches you to slow down and look closer.
Mhm.
So there is definitely a lot to say about that intersection of nature, art, and mindfulness. I would be excited to part of larger conversations around that in the future.
Mhm.
So let's say I'm warming up.
Yeah. When you speak of working in multiple design offices, you were inspired by many different disciplines to give you the perspective to improve your design processes, to arrive at where your passion for nature and art come together. Can you elaborate on this for our audience in a more tangible way? How did these influences merge to stimulate your Leaves of Canada brand?
Absolutely. Working in different design offices really gave me a wide lens on how creativity works across disciplines. Whether it was architecture, interiors, or branding, I was constantly absorbing how people tell stories through design, how they balance structure and emotion.
Mhm.
And I think what stuck with me the most was how every detail matters. In architecture, it could be how light moves through a space. In interiors, it is the way materials feel. That kind of attention to detail really carried into Leaves of Canada. So when I paint a botanical piece, I'm thinking not just about how it works, but so those disciplines definitely shaped how I approach my art, not just as a picture on a page, but as an experience. Leaves of Canada is really where all that comes together. A love for form, texture, and the emotional power of those moments in nature.
Mhm. Have any of the more recent prime ministers, MPs, or MPPs ever approached you about your nationalistic artwork? If so, have they connected you with any other celebrities or dignitaries? If not, this is something we could work on for you. Your Canadian content has unique appeal. It's illustrative but not stylized.
I love that, Carolyn. No, I haven't been approached by any prime ministers or MPs yet. But if you've got connections, let me know. I'm ready for it when they are. I wouldn't really call my work nationalistic, but I do think there is something personal and grounding in celebrating the plants and landscapes of this place. It's not about flags or big symbols, it's about emotion, memory, and the small details that make Canada feel like home. But hey, if someone in the office ever wants a trillion plant, I'm all up for it.
Well, yeah, I meant just nationalistic in the sense of that it's you're honing in on sort of Canadian, like the plants and leaves and trees and everything, right? Like that's what I was meaning by it. I guess, yeah, I can't really use that nationalistic term too broadly
Yeah,
these days.
true, that's right.
What do you find is the most challenging in your creative practice as you are honing in on our Canadian landscape? Is there one specific area where you're documenting nature that is impossible to capture?
I think the biggest challenge is actually transferring the feeling, knowing that no matter how much time I spend with a subject, I will never fully capture it. Nature has so much depth that's hard to put into an image. For example, I can paint a pine branch in detail, But I cannot really paint how the pine smells in winter or the way sunlight moves through the leaves. That part always slips through.
Mm.
So the challenge becomes, how do I suggest those things? Even if I can't fully show them, maybe through colors or maybe textures, forms. Well, I guess that's what keeps me coming back to the page.
Yeah. Have you considered using your techniques in drawing Canadian provincial trees and leaves to incorporate insects, animals, or birds into the prints you offer? Is this a possibility for the future of your Leaves of Canada brand?
Mhm. I like this question. I've definitely thought about it. Right now, I love focusing on plants, but nature is so interconnected. It makes total sense to explore the relationships between plants and the creatures that live among them. So I could see myself slowly introducing maybe some birds, let's say, but maybe not front or
Mhm.
centered, but more like subtle details in the composition, something you notice after a moment, like a small bird resting in the branches or a similar kind of image. So, yes, it's a possibility. I think Leaves of Canada will always be rooted in plants, but there is room for the whole ecosystem to peek in.
And we'll be right back. Hmm. Yeah, it could just be kind of like an addition to what you already are making in your prints, right? Just
Yeah, it would make things more alive and yeah.
yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Where would you say you find yourself if you had to choose one province or city that has been your special place that gives you the most inspiration and content?
Oof, I'll admit that's a tough one. I think if I had to pick just one, I would say Ontario. I've been living here for years now, and it's where Lives of Canada really started to take shape. Here that I love. The mix of dense forest, quiet trails, and wildflower meadows just outside of the city, especially in places like Prince Edward County or the Bruce Trail, I find so much inspiration in those landscapes. So I would say it's where I feel most connected to the land and where I seem to find new plants to fall in every season.
Yeah, because then it's also kind of very familiar to you because it's like home, right?
Exactly. It's like I feel so much myself here.
Would you say that there's any specific place, say in Ontario, like a specific city or
I would actually say, as I mentioned, like Prince Edward County is just
oh
the
yeah.
perfect place for me. If I could even live there, that would be the best scenario.
Oh yeah. That is a nice one. A nice place.
I also like the connection of the waterfront and also the forest side. Gives you so much to
Mhm.
take in.
When you are combining your passion for nature with your love of design, do you find there's a narrative you are trying to communicate, or are your prints, cards, and artwork holding more of an illustrative documentary category for your clients?
For me, there is definitely a story, but it is a quiet one. I'm not telling it in a direct way, but I'm sharing my story through the work and people see their story in it too. That's what I love the most. I've had people say things like, "Oh, we used to have this tree in our garden. It brings my childhood memories back." Or, "This flower reminds me of the walks I used to take with my
Mm.
grandfather. We would always collect those flowers on the way back." So these moments mean everything to me. I want my work to give people space to feel something personal.
Yeah, like it's a very, very personal moments that you've probably heard from clients, from what your images capture for them.
And I love how one plant can actually make the emotions so
Mhm.
alive in us.
Yeah. When working to capture your images in nature, do you ever think of marketing your work into a community setting? Would you consider using your Leaves of Canada content as a teaching tool, providing more direct knowledge about our landscape?
Yeah, actually, it is something that's been on my mind. I would love to see it grow into a shared community based experience. I've been approached by Ontario Parks as part of their educational programs for kids camping. And I've also had interest from galleries about organizing an ink making workshop. So those conversations are already starting to happen, which is really exciting. So I think we all need to feel that reconnection with nature, whether it's through drawing, observation, workshops, or just spending time with plants. And when it happens, especially in a shared setting, it feels even more meaningful. My work can help create those
Yeah,
moments.
that would be great
That
to
will be amazing.
share that space and that experience in a group. It totally would just really deepen the understanding, I think, of the content that you're providing. Yeah.
Yes, and also we all have our own perspectives, and so we all kind of learn from each other too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be great to have that connection with everyone
Mhm.
and that experience at the same time. And it's great you're having those discussions. So something will totally
So
come from this,
exciting.
and that'll be great for you. Yeah. Have you? Yeah, it does sound really exciting. Have you ever considered on your road trips when you're taking them for your content to create your artwork, making them into field trips for students to learn about our provincial trees, leaves, and wildlife? Although that's kind
Yes, but to be honest, although it's a great idea, I think I really need that alone time in nature during my road trips. Being by myself helps me fully immerse in the moment. It gives me clarity and a better sense of where I want to shift my focus next. That said, as we were mentioning, I think the field trips could be a really lovely and meaningful project, but maybe not during my road trips. I would love the idea of working with students, sharing my process,
yeah.
and hearing how they see the nature world. It will be a beautiful way for all of us, as I said, learn from each
Mhm.
other and to feel more connected to the land around us.
Yeah, exactly. Like it would be separate from your actual field trips for your content. It was be specifically a road trip to learn. Like it'd be like the previous question where you're teaching, using it as a teaching tool, but also having
Yeah,
the option of
exactly.
doing that on a road trip kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool. We've actually reached the end of our questions for this interview. So thank you so much, Dylan, for joining me today and sharing with our audience what Leaves of Canada is really about. I look forward to chatting with you in the future to see where your creativity
Thank you so
takes
much,
you.
Carolyn, for this lovely podcast. I'm looking forward to chatting you again in the future. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Bye.
Questions really
Now's the
covered
time.
everything. I was hoping to like suggest maybe a question or two, but I couldn't come up with anything. Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you so much again for inviting me.
Well, I'm really happy that you enjoyed the questions. When I saw your stuff, I was like, this is really unique, you know, like just out there. And I'm not saying they're alike, but
Thank you so much. Actually, more collective, kind of contributing. more layers of nature to create a bit more rich and depth illustrations. But this time, it is a secret between us. But this time, I'm going to use silk, which I actually introduced in the past, silk scarves as a subject of mine. Like it's going to be my, actually not subject, but my medium. So I'm going to slowly leave prints behind, and I'm going to more focus on silk scarves in the future.
Oh, that's good.
Yes,
That's more of a functional approach.
I think I just like the idea of carrying art with us to the daily life. Because when you are just having a copy of an image, it just stays on a wall or you just leave it at home. But I want that art to show itself more with you, or like, you got the idea.
Yeah. So it can actually live on you and throughout the day. Yeah. Yeah. That I totally.
Yes, that's what I'm working on these days.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That is a great way to sort of broaden your content and your Leaves of Canada brand.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for being on the show today. And I will get this to you as soon as I can. And hopefully we can talk again in the future and see where your creativity takes you.
That will be amazing. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Dylan. Bye.
Bye.
Join me next time as I go down another rabbit hole with another creative professional on their insights, their inspirations, and their ingenuity.